Thank you, Maria. My name's Eric Carlson. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about conflict management and the ways to work around conflicts within your group. So, how do we manage conflict? Within all groups, there's a chance of conflict and disagreement because you have a lot of different people coming together and everybody's got their own ideas and their own thoughts and ways they want to approach things. It's going to get in the way of your performance and it can make being in a group uncomfortable and unpleasant. There are a lot of different ways you can deal with these type of problems or issues with an ethical approach. That way, you can always be respectful towards everyone in your group, and you will get by with minimum conflict. If you'll follow along on slide 28, we talk about the different ways or different approaches that our classroom textbook talks about within dealing with conflict within the group. One of the ways you can approach conflict is to avoid it. This is not a good thing to do because a lot of times when you're avoiding it, you're biting your tongue, something's bothering you, and you're not going to get it out, and it's going to affect your work, and it could make the problem bigger down the line. You can accommodate the problem. This means that you can give in to your groups or some individuals' direction without really giving your own opinion. You're just kind of like you're stepping aside and letting them take the lead, regardless of how you personally feel about it. There's a competitive approach to conflict, meaning you're putting your own thoughts and actions out there on the table without worrying about the rest of the group and not having a regard for the way they feel. This could also present problems further down the line. The next one, which I think is a good one, is collaboration, which means you work together as a group to come to agreements and everything's fair across the board. And lastly, another good approach is to compromise. This is where each person in the group is willing to give up just a little bit of the way they feel or a little bit of something that they want in order for the whole group to benefit and so they can move on. It's very important that you work through these disagreements in an ethical manner because the last thing you want to do is hurt somebody's feelings or make somebody uncomfortable. This is just, it's not good business. It's not going to make you look good as a group member. Nobody's going to want to work with you. It can affect a lot of things for your work and school. And lastly, I think really you want to express your disagreement in a healthy way because I think letting it out is a lot better than keeping it inside. And knowing that you can work together and present a problem and work together for a solution is going to make for a lot more enjoyable work experience. You just want to bring it up in a sensitive way. You don't get defensive, and also take the time to listen to others because you might find that maybe you were wrong, or maybe there was something that you didn't see that somebody could help you find, and you can approach it that way. So in the conclusion of managing conflicts, you always want to make sure that you do take the time to express the way you feel in a healthy manner with an open mind as well. You want to be mindful to what each group member has to say, and this will give you a really good group dynamic to where whenever you guys are presented with a problem, you're going to be the most effective at solving it, and your work's going to show. One of the last bullet points for this is problem solving. Problem solving is a very important factor when working within a group. I think a lot of the times there are ways to confront problems. You want to outline a solution before presenting it to your group. It's very important to not just point out. You don't want to just point out problems without providing some sort of a solution. You can analyze the problem. You break it down into factors, which we're going to talk about here, and then that way you provide everything as openly as possible towards your group. That way people know how to approach it, and you can start maintaining your solution. If you'll start at slide 35, we also went to the class textbook to show the different factors for effective problem solving. such as, and we'll go over a couple of these with you, such as describing and analyzing the problem. This is where you want to identify the problem from all angles. That way you can come up with the best solution possible. You can also generate and explaining possible solutions. Don't just settle for one solution. Collaborate as a group. Go over different possibilities because they're all going to have different outcomes. Evaluation of all possible solutions. Brainstorm as a group because there's going to be times where working together is just naturally going to solve a problem. You can also, when choosing the best solution, you want to do this as a group, and that way, when everybody's on board, everybody feels comfortable with that solution, and it's going to show in your work. There's definitely different methods you can take for making decisions. This is, for example, something if you have a designated team leader and they're the ones that make the call. That is a decision by a lead member. There's a consultative method where maybe you go to a third party and then they present a solution to you. And there's always a voting method, democracy, majority rules. That's another way to fairly come up with a solution for a bigger problem. So whenever you decide that you're going to implement the chosen solution, you want to definitely make sure you have an outline. You want to decide who, what, where, when, and how. That way you can come up with a timeline and a deadline so that nothing else is going to get behind, and you follow up with all the group members and you execute. So in conclusion, we had talked about the different roles in group dynamics. Communication, being effective communication in groups ensures everyone's on the same page and working together. Critical thinking opens up new innovation and possibilities. Ethical group behavior, encouraging others to speak their mind while respecting others. Conflict management, having an approach and open mind when dealing with group conflict. And lastly is problem solving, which I think you can wrap up all the other dynamics when leading up to that. If those are all effective, your problem solving skills are just going to speak for themselves. We want to thank you for your time in listening to our presentation. Thank you very much.